international speaker, preacher, author, and business coach. Patrice is the co-founder and chief servant officer of both Nehemiah Project International Ministries and PG and Associates LLC, which he founded with his wife and best friend, Nehemiah Tsague. Patrice specializes in helping families incorporate their faith into their business practices, ensuring that their businesses are able to exist beyond the third generation. And now, introducing Patrice Tsague.
Welcome to the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community Podcast. I'm your host, Patrice Tsague. Well, today we're going to get back into the discussion on my latest book, my book that's coming out, The Biblical Entrepreneurship Essentials. Today we'll deal with part 6, which is the science of entrepreneurship. You know, entrepreneurship is really Victor, let's title this one, The Art versus the Science of Entrepreneurship, because we're going to deal with the art and the science of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is both an art and a science. Okay, so we'll deal with it as an art and a science of entrepreneurship. Again, we're dealing with the art and the science. So today's podcast is critical for those of us who are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs, but sometimes find ourselves being overly focused on the widget that we're making and being overly passionate about it, that we struggle to make money. Or those of us who are overly pragmatic and on the process of business, and we don't often have the charisma or the personality type to kind of go out there and make the sales, right? So we're going to kind of deal with how do you bring those two kind of in balance. This particular section is part of chapter 2, which is titled "What Does It Take to Succeed?" In Luke chapter 14, verse 28, Jesus makes a statement: "For which of you intending to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has sufficient to finish?" As an entrepreneur, it's important that as you begin that journey or as you extend the journey, that you have what it takes to make this journey work or to go all the way to the end. And so we're going to kind of give you some things to consider, not from a planning perspective or from a strategy or forecasting, but today's dealing with how you're wired and to think through about all the making of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. So, but first, let's look at the roles, the various roles that you have to consider, either you playing or building a team that plays in the context of entrepreneurship. So regardless of which position you choose to take in the marketplace, being self-employed requires a certain set of skills to be successful in the long run. Skills as you know, are natural traits, learning techniques, or life equipping abilities gained from experience. So some of these skills you may have gained them from experience, or you've gained them from just innately that you've been trained at it. You've gone to school or to trade school, whatever. You've gained them. So we're going to look at these different skills that are necessary. The reality, even naturally born entrepreneur, or what we call initiators, rarely possess all the skills required for them to be successful. Some of you guys, you kind of feel like you were born with the business gene, right? Entrepreneurship is for you. But it doesn't mean you have all the prerequisites required. Some things you have to learn, right? If you ever read Michael's Gerber's book, The E-Myth, in the book The E-Myth, he shares this idea that everybody who goes into business is actually three persons in one. So if you are in business right now, you're to be successful, you kind of have to express these three dimensions, or have a team that have a combination of these three dimensions. So the dimensions are these. So you got the entrepreneur, or the one who makes the product or the service, who the idea guy, right? That's the idea guy. The entrepreneur is the idea guy, the visionary. Then you have the technician. The technician is the one who, kind of knows how to make the widget or execute the widget. And then you've got the manager, these three persons. So let's start. So if you're going to be successful as an entrepreneur, you've got to be able to express these three dimensions, or build a team that has these three dimensions as part of your team. So the first is the entrepreneur, which is you, the visionary. You mentally live in the future and right in the present. You're the innovator, the strategist, the one with the creative personality. You're the deal maker. You know how to navigate the unknown. You're the one that really have the dream, and you're able to really, by conviction and faith, press forward and press through. Right? You're the entrepreneur. Without the entrepreneur, business do not get started, nor are businesses able to really thrive and survive. Steve Jobs is an example of a typical entrepreneur, right? The idea guy, the one who kind of starts something and they press through, they believe enough in it. There's another book that I've read that says that the entrepreneur is the prophet of the marketplace. In other words, you see things that other people do not see. That's the entrepreneur. You're the dreamer. You're the Joseph, right? You see things that other people do not see. And then you have the manager. So, and some of you guys may have this expression in you. So you can be that visionary type, that dreamer type, that one who knows how to navigate unknown. But you also have this other side of you, which is the manager. If you don't have it, you need to have somebody in your team who does. You're the pragmatic planner. You want order. You're able to see ways to address problems and bring order out of chaos. You tend to be more comfortable with the status quo. And without this manager aspect, the business will not be able to sustain. In other words, entrepreneurs can create business ideas, they can birth things, but it is the manager that is able to take care of it. And some of you may have that dimension. You may be more of a pragmatic, right? There are times where a manager type, pragmatic type, start businesses, right? But they tend to struggle with vision and motivation and inspiration. But when the entrepreneur type starts a business, he tends not to have stability and the management aspect, right? You need both. You need the visionary and you also need the manager. Now, which one are you? Where do you best fit? And how do you bring the other element if you cannot be an expression of both? I've had to learn both for virtue of what I do. It's not been easy. I'm more an entrepreneur guy, but I've had to learn how to be more pragmatic over time and put systems around me to hold me accountable for the pragmatic side or the managerial side. But then also you have the technician, which is a doer. You love getting things done. You're the one who actually makes the widget. You're able to take ideas and make them realities, right? You like details, and your biggest frustration for the technician is when things are not getting done. So Michael Gerber talks about these three dimensions that are essential for the entrepreneur to be able to express, in within themselves, or to have a team around them that express this. You got the visionary, you've got the caretaker, which is the manager, and you've got the doer, the executor, right? The one who actually have the specific expertise to make the thing happen. So in the case of Steve Jobs, so Steve Jobs was a visionary. And then Steve Jobs had a technician who was actually the one who was making all of the widget behind him, right? That was Wozniak. He was the technician for Steve Jobs. And then Steve Jobs brought in a manager. He recruited a guy out of Pepsi who was the one who was kind of the one to really the pragmatic. He was responsible for really running the business of Apple. But then it came a time for Steve Jobs where his entrepreneur, visionary kind of demeanor was so frustrating to the manager that he got him fired from his own company. And by that time, I think Steve Wozniak, the technician, had already left, I believe. They're already falling apart, right? So as an entrepreneur, you have to be careful as you're building your business and growing your company that you don't frustrate the managers around you and the technicians around you, or better yet, within you, right? Because understand this, you may have to be the expression of all these three dimensions, no matter which approach you lean more dominantly. Or you may have to build a team around you that has the other elements that you do not have. Without these three elements, even if you are able to build a business, it will not grow very far, nor will it be successful for very long. Because essentially, all businesses needs all three, right? So which one are you? Are you more of a technician, an entrepreneur, or a manager? And by the way, you can read Steve. You can read Michael Gerber's book, E-Myth, to kind of learn more about it more in detail. Now let's get into the art or the science, which is one of my favorite, art versus science. Because whether you are more of a technician, a manager, or an entrepreneur, you have to deal with this dynamic of the art versus the science of entrepreneurship. So let's look at it. So what does that look like? So entrepreneurs are more artistic, right? Entrepreneurs are artists because it's in the art that rests the passion of what you're trying to do. You see, as an entrepreneur, if the idea that you can create something, come up with something from scratch, because you're an artist, right? You're an artist. You're a Michelangelo, right? You are a painter. You are an artist. You kind of make beautiful things come to life, right? You can see it, right? You're the artist. Now, so as an artist, your job is to blend the art element with the science of business. And also, we're going to get to this, make way for the spirit so that you can be able to approach business in a supernatural dimension. All right. All of this is found in this book. So there are, and many times us artists, for me, I'm a teacher, I'm a trainer. This is what I do best because I'm able to see how to bring content and ideas to life to students using words and illustration. That's what a trainer does. If I had my way, I'll spend every day reading materials, putting them into content I can disseminate, right? And delivering those content. If I had my way, that's all I will do. However, I also got to be mindful of the science element of the organization, which we'll get into. And I also have to make way for the spirit. So with that, let's look at some industries that have, actually, let me read this for you before I go. Let me read this before I move on in the book. In the book, it says, think about it like this. Imagine holding up your painted canvas with one hand, while on the other hand, you hold the frame, a nail, and a hammer to fasten it to the wall. This is the blend of the art and the science. The painting needs to be seen. It's the frame that highlights the beauty of the art, while the nail and the hammer makes it possible for many to see it and possibly buy it without having it to stand there holding it up all day long, with the painting supporting the wall, supporting it on the wall. You are now free to paint another. It takes a partnership. So the science and the art have to kind of all work together. So let's consider industries that really was fueled by the art, but then the science was able to make them thrive, or at least more sustainable long term. So medicine used to be a healing art, right? If you think about what we call traditional medicine, right? And available, you had these natural healers, people that had the ability to through a spiritual mechanism or through using natural ingredients, things around the earth, they were able to bring healing to people. That's evolved into a thriving business of pharmaceutical, right? Some may argue it's gone too far, where it's now using more artificial means of healing versus natural means. But that is the pharmaceutical industry, right? At the bare bone of it, you're dealing with artists of who are able to heal the body, right? That's what the pharmaceutical industry is at its very essence. And then you have churches, right? There's a scientific dimension to churches, right? So the pastor is considered to be, that's the artist of the soul, able to rightly divide the word of truth and bring about spiritual healing in people's lives and bring about ministry of the gospel. But however, you have those who, as effective as they are in preaching, let me use T.D. Jakes as an example. T.D. Jakes is one of the best preachers of our time. You can also take Billy Graham's, one of the best preachers of our time. But those, if they have not been able to bring the science element of ministry, right? The business of how do you market the ministry? How do you manage the ministry? Right, the operation, build a team around them that take care of the science of the ministry or the business of ministry. There will not be a Billy Graham. There will not be a T.D. Jakes. They will not be able to build thriving ministries. Now, there are some people who may argue that it's become too much of a business, right? Because in a sense, they're saying, Patrice, that it's been, some of those organizations have become so science, so business-minded, that they've lost the art or the spirit or the essence of what they're about. That's the question for debate. However, you cannot ignore the latter if you're going to build a thriving organization. Some may argue that the pharmaceutical industry has become too much business, too much science, and not enough art, right? But you can't do without the other. And maybe some have pushed it too far. But just because it's been misused does not mean that you have to ignore it. Again, I'm talking about my book, upcoming book, The Biblical Entrepreneurship Essentials, right? This is the essentials, elements or ingredients or what it takes to build a kingdom business. You can also enroll in our courses by going to our website, NehemiahEcommunity.com, where you can learn about diverse courses we have that takes you deeper and helps you to truly understand these concepts. To get the copy of the book, you can go to our website, Nehemiah Project, NehemiahEcommunity.com, NehemiahEcommunity.com, and there you can go to the product page and you can pre-order the book, and you can also get a copy of chapter 1. Now, one of the things you got to be careful as you're trying to, as an artist, you're trying to build or grow your business using the science, is not to lose sight, not to lose your joy along the way, right? Which if you no longer enjoy it, if it becomes so business, so scientific that you no longer have the joy that, it, by the way, is the essence of fueling your ingenuity, then you may want to get out of the business. You see, because successful entrepreneurs must be able to blend between the art and the science while preserving their joy, right? See, protecting your joy as you blend the art and the science of entrepreneurship is key to your success, because it is the Bible says that the joy of the Lord is our strength, right? You know, that joy is going to be the strength, the key to you continuing to grow the business. Artists must find a way to hold on to their initial creativity and purpose. And scientists must find a way, new ways to build and develop once the initial structure is in place. So you got to keep the joy. So for a natural scientist, here are some practical ways to keep your joy. So if your bent is more of a pragmatic, more of a scientist, right? Here's what you want to consider to keep your joy. So you want to partner with people with artistic capability who can advise and support your work, right? Who bring that sense of flair and creativity. You want to hire people who can do the tasks you don't want to do so you can focus on your area of passion. You want to prepare an exit strategy once the system are built and others are able to maintain it, so you can find new avenues to keep from being bored or from losing your joy. You want to also renew your mind about your thinking. So because understand, as an entrepreneur, you don't want to just be one or the other. You want to embrace both, because it's going to take that for you to succeed. You know, I've coached many entrepreneurs who have struggled because of their willingness to embrace the other element that they're not, right? They're great scientists, great pragmatic, great with processes. They're great with systems, but they're not good with people and not innovators. They're not good on the art part, or the reverse. So you can even read books and take classes and get a coach to help to be able to develop the what's in you, so that you might be able to cultivate the essence of that joy on the inside of you. So if you are a natural scientist, right, you can partner with others who can bring that element. If you are a natural artist, meaning that the art element of it comes natural to you, you can do the reverse. You can take classes and get coaching, how to develop the scientific element of it, the pragmatic, the management part. You can bring others, like what Steve Jobs did. But be careful as you bring people to help with the science of it, or the management of the business, the operational end. Make sure they're people who share your values. Because the worst thing you want, this is the mistake that Steve Jobs made. He brought somebody in who eventually forced them out of the company. But in the other guy's defense, Steve was also not willing to submit to the processes that were being put in place. In other words, Steve Jobs himself later on admitted that he was not mature enough. Because part of as an entrepreneur, you got to be willing to submit to orderly processes, so that you might be able to make room for others who are different than who you are to come into helping you the business. You maybe not only partner, but also hire other people that can help you out. And so, because you want to be able to have that nice blend of the art and the science, whether it comes from you expressing those dimensions or the team that you built. All right, because your success depends upon it. But key to your success is not just about mastering the art or the science of business. It's not just about you understanding whether you are more of a technician than an entrepreneur, or an entrepreneur than a manager. But also you got to make way for the spirit, because you're now a biblical entrepreneur, right? Because the spirit kind of brings it all together, so that within the context of you expressing who you are as an artist, as well as you expressing who you are as making room for the scientists or the managers or those within your company that are able to provide you support in those areas where you're not strong. The Holy Spirit enables you to have the temperament to make it work. So you got to make way for the Spirit, because that's the supernatural dimension. That though you are a natural artist, gifted and dynamic, that you're able to overcome your weaknesses as an artist, to embrace the science of business, or to fully submit to the manager, the scientists around you to make that blend work. In other words, let me say this to you. One of the essentials of biblical entrepreneurship is that you've got to know who you are, know how you're wired. You've got to know that entrepreneurship is about vision, innovation, and ideation. But know that as great as those things are, if you're not able to bring, to tap into the scientific element of you, because we all have it, it's just not being cultivated, and or to bring in other people who are able to help you to kind of bring that other element and to bring the balance for you so that you can create a balanced organization, you will not succeed. But as difficult as that might be, making way for the Spirit of God to come in, recognize that it's not just about the science or the art, but it's also about the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, because ultimately you're not, as a human being, you're not just flesh, and you're not even just soul, but you're also spirit, right? In other words, who you really are is spirit, right? It's God breathed his spirit into you. And so that spirit, who you really are, when you make way for that, that spirit has expression that you never even thought of, right? What has helped me over the years is that I've got a team of people around me who bring the science element, and some whose their been is also as artists who encourage me, who iron sharpens iron. But the scientists around me, whether they're playing a role in operation or project management, right? These people, their role, their job, the C-type personality, their job is to help bring the balance to my overly artistic personality, so that with that balance, we can build a successful organization. Which way do you lean? And how do you make way for the other elements? And as you make way, how do you allow the Spirit of God to come into the middle of that and make your natural super, so that you can experience great outcome, supernatural outcome that you would have never thought of or believed possible. One example of that is I've been interviewing a good friend on the spirit of innovation, Al Capernaum. And also Art Alley is another example who I've been interviewing on this podcast. Watch their interviews and look at their journey. Look at how Art, who's more scientific, more of a pragmatic, is able to tap into his creative nature, his entrepreneur nature to drive vision. And he's brought in other people to kind of help him to bring the balance. See how he did it. Read his book, Invest with Purpose. See how he's been able to do that. And then, of course, Al Capernaum, as he talks about the spirit of innovation, he's more of an artist, right? That's his thing. He's more of it, but he's brought other people around him to bring the pragmatic and to bring the scientific element. Or there's another book that we wrote called Serve with Love, where Tom Mayers talked about he operated restaurants right here in the Pacific Northwest. He's been able to make a great blend of both of those to build a very successful company, right? So there's no success without the perfect blend of these two elements. But success is even more reassured when we make way for the Spirit, who can temper our personality type, who can accelerate the areas that we need acceleration, who can give us discernment to know what the right people to bring to the table, and who can help us where we are weak. Now, that is the essence of being an entrepreneur. Where do you fall? And how do you trust the Lord to strengthen you where you're weak, or to make way for others who have other strength to join you so that you might do what God has called you to carry forward. Sometimes our success is purely simply an ability for us to tap into the essence of who we truly are. Know us, know thyself. We have a course called Identity and Destiny, where we help individuals know their identity and their destiny. Because once you know who you are unapologetically, you are then able to make room for those who bring balance or bring other perspectives to you and to your team, so that together you can realize what God has called you to realize. I hope you've enjoyed this. Our next discussion, we're going to talk about the fact that desire is not enough. Desire is not enough. See, once you have this blend between the art and the science, and you want it really bad, that's not enough. What else is required for us to build and to expand our businesses? We're going to talk about it next time. Well, with that said, I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. Again, I'm dealing with the book, Biblical Entrepreneurship Essential. This is part 4, the art versus the science. And if you want to know more about the book or get a copy of the book, visit our website, NehemiahEcommunity.com, NehemiahEcommunity.com. And there you can go to our product store and you can buy the book, get chapter 1 at no cost to you. And with that, part 6, sorry, this is part 6. Get chapter and you can read it at no cost to you, or pre-order your digital or hard copy today. And if you want to know more about Nehemiah Project and how we can provide you with training, with coaching, with access to capital to help you grow your business and be a part of one of the fastest growing entrepreneurship communities in the world, I want you to visit our website, NehemiahEcommunity.com. If you enjoy this podcast, I'd like for you to share it. Share it with as many folks as you can. Share it with friends, with family, and enable them to be able to understand one of the essence of being a biblical entrepreneur, which is understanding the difference between the art and the science, and making way for the spirit to be able to super our natural. God bless you. Let me pray for you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord enable you to steward those talents, those skills, those gifts that are under your care. To know where you lean, whether more of a scientist or an artist, to make way for the spirit. And to do it in such a way that one day you can hear those wonderful words. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. Now he'll make you ruler over much. God bless you. Have a great weekend. See you next week as we talk about how to vote our faith, entrepreneurship, and job creation. God bless.